You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning. It is Monday, August the 11th of 2025. Live from our studios in downtown Wausau, our WXCO studios at the corner of Washington Street and North 3rd Street. The time is 7:23. Currently some fog, some mist, overcast, 68 degrees, a mild start here in downtown Wausau. I am Chad Holmes. It is the WXCO Morning Report, part of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. You can also catch us, our local segments, live on our WXCO YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com and then go to the 98.9 WXCO YouTube channel, you can catch us live, or you can go back and catch other segments during the morning program that we are based out of Wausau. Again, we are with you at 22 and 52 after the hour in the 7 and 8 o'clock hours during Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. Across the way is our in-studio engineer, Ian Welsh. Ian, good morning.
Good morning, Chad.
Have a good weekend? Stay dry?
I did. It was, I stayed dry for the most part. It was a very busy weekend, especially on a Saturday, because I was hosting a murder mystery party with a group of friends, and we all had a fantastic time. The theme was a murder in Margaritaland, so it was a tropical island resort setting, but it was a lot of fun. Great food and drinks, and we all just had a really fun time with our characters, and just, it's really nice when a group of theater people can come together and just have a party and just be themselves.
Fantastic. No, very good to hear.
Despite the weather, of course, because it was really coming down on Saturday.
In fact,
we made it work, though.
In fact, coming up, we will be talking to your theater brethren.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually going to be recording it a little bit later on this morning, and then hear the discussions tomorrow on the program. And actually, we're going to have one group coming up later on this morning for playback tomorrow, and then we'll have another group tomorrow for playback on Wednesday, because there are two different shows coming up later this week here in Wausau.
That's right.
River and Woods Theater Company and the two Shakespeare in the Park productions, one of which you are involved in.
Yes, I am.
But we will have tomorrow on the program members of the Comedy of Errors, which I believe is the one that you're involved in.
Yes, it is. Very funny show.
Dan Thompson and Keela Coppersmith will be joined, along with the director, Cindy Strobel.
Nice.
That will be heard tomorrow. And then coming up on Wednesday, Bela Fritz and Ariana Bloom, two cast members from A Midsummer Night's Dream, which I believe is the kids' production, correct?
Yeah, but that's the one that'll be taking place at 2 o'clock this weekend.
So terrific. And again, the shows are, what, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Am I correct?
Oh, it's...
or
I believe it's actually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Oh, so even earlier.
Yep. Midsummer is at 2 o'clock, and the Comedy of Errors is at 6.
And where is this being performed again?
And this will be outdoors at Stewart Park in Wausau.
So we'll learn a whole lot more about both those productions. One, the adult production and the kids production over the next couple of days. Coming up here today in our next segment at 7:52, going to talk about a great loss for the city of Wausau. Longtime city council member, and I think just as importantly, a man that kept the history of our community at the forefront. Gary Gisselman. In fact, he was a guest, not with his council hat on the program, but actually his historical hat. As a member of the Friends of Wausau Historic Landmarks, he was a part of a group that came in and spoke during our program back last year. In fact, 11 months ago, on September the 16th of 2024. Christine Martins, Carl Martins, and Gary Gisselman were with us for that program. But he passed away on Saturday, Gary Gisselman, and he had served on the council from 2006 to 2020 and then returned in 2022. Served on the Marathon County Board of Supervisors from 2006 to 2014 and again beginning in 2022. So we'll talk a bit about the legacy of Gary Gisselman coming up at 7:52.
Of course.
At 8:22, I'm going to talk about two different things. One of which I think is a great positive. Over the weekend, we saw, for the first time in Major League Baseball history, a woman umpire. First time ever, a woman umpire. But also, late last night, just as I was going to bed, I was on my social media, and I saw a student athlete from our area share a social media message from the son of the President of the United States, Donald Trump Jr. And it had a picture of Donald Trump, the president, on top of the White House, tossing a sex toy onto a women's basketball court. And it really disturbed me. And I'm going to talk about that as well in the first segment of the next hour. And then coming up in our final segment, we will have our number for the day quiz.
Start off a brand new week.
Yep, Ian had a good week last week, and we'll try to have another good week this week. So a lot on the plate, but coming up in about 22 minutes, we're going to remember Gary Gisselman, a man that brought a lot of good to our community, who passed away over the weekend. Coming up, we'll have the Farm Report, and then back to Pat Kreitlow. Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. The time is 7:30. 98.9 WXCO.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Welcome back. It is the WXCO Morning Report, part of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. 68 degrees under mostly cloudy skies as we start off another new work week, 11th day of August of 2025. Well, over the weekend, heard the news that one of the true leaders within our community in many ways passed away on Saturday. Gary Gisselman, again, a man that we had at this table talking history. And I've always been a history buff and somebody that believes that we learn so much from our history that helps the present and will help the future as well. Well, Gary Gisselman, in addition to being, I think, perhaps one of the leading historians of our area, was also a longtime government member, a man that truly lived the idea of making our system work. And we've talked so many different times about how if our system, our democratic system is to work, you need the people to step forward. You need the people to be informed. You need the people to know what's going on. And Gary Gisselman, right to the very end, was somebody that was a member of both the city council and also the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Gisselman passed away on Saturday at his home at the age of 82. A man that was in the center of things for a very long time in our community. On the city council for two different tours. He was on for 14 years, 2006 to 2020, but then came back, said, nope, there's still more to be done. There's more service to be done. He returned in 2022, again, becoming the representative of District Number 5 in the city of Wausau. And not only that, he was a man that, at the same time, for many of these years, was on the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Same time frame. Well, he started in the same time frame back in 2006. He was on the Marathon County Board until 2014, and then again came back in 2022. After word came down that Gary passed away, the mayor of Wausau, Doug Dinney, put out a news release yesterday, and the mayor basically said what I think a lot of folks are saying, that they wanted to thank Gary Gisselman for his years of service to the city of Wausau. In his press release, Dinney said the time and energy that Gary put into serving the Wausau community over the years is unmatched. I know he'll be missed by the many, many people he helped during his lifetime of service. But the thing about Gary Gisselman that even more than the government service for me is his work in the historical realm. He was part of numerous groups of history in Wausau. He was the chairman of the Wausau Historic Preservation Commission. He was dedicated to cataloging and preserving the region's history. He had been at the Marathon County Public Library, which is, again, one of those places that are so vitally important in terms of keeping our history alive.
Absolutely.
He was a volunteer at the Marathon County Historical Society Library. He focused on the history of German settlers in the area. In fact, according to an obituary or story put out in the Wausau Pilot and Review, Gisselman was a member and former president of the Pomeranian Club of Central Wisconsin and took part in several Roots tours to Naugard County in the former German province of Pomerania, the homeland of his mother's family. He also served on the board of the Max Cade Institute, a UW-Madison-based organization devoted to preserving the history of German immigrants in the United States. And then he was also a member of the Friends of Wausau Historic Landmarks. It was part of that group that he came on our program last September, along with Christine Martins and Carl Martins. They were sharing the architecture and history of the Wausau area. And just the different ways that he kept his hand on the pulse of our area will not be forgotten. And one part of history is not forgetting. And after serving our area in different ways, Gary Gisselman is now a part of history. And I think he would like that because
I think so too.
He's part of the fabric that makes Wausau what it is. Part of what makes Wisconsin what it is and what it's been. So it's obviously a massive loss to our community. But the thing that we have to do when it comes to people and events is to recall, take what we learned from this person and from different events and use it in our lives to make Wausau even a better place to live in 2025 and in the future.
That's right.
But Gary Gisselman, again, 82 years old, passed away at his home on Saturday. And definitely a man that put a stamp on our area and a man that definitely made Wausau a better place to live.
Indeed.
The time is almost 8 o'clock. We will have an information update, and then hour number 2 of the program we'll be sending back to Pat Kreitlow for more. We'll be back here for another segment at 8:22 as well, here on 98.9 WXCO. Good morning once again, everyone. The time is 8:23, currently 68 degrees under mostly cloudy skies here at our downtown studios at the corner of Washington Street and North 3rd Street in downtown Wausau. Along with our in-studio engineer, Ian Welsh, I am Chad Holmes. Again, good morning to you, Ian.
Good morning, Chad.
One of the stories that was a positive story this weekend was Major League Baseball making some history, as for the first time in the very long history, I mean, we're coming up on close to 150 years. It goes back to a
very long time.
Actually, it's 149 years, because Major League Baseball basically started with the formation of the National League in 1876.
It's a long time.
But for the first time in the history of baseball, a female was an umpire in a Major League Baseball game. It happened this weekend in Atlanta. It was a woman named Jen Powell. She became the first woman to serve in a regular season Major League game. She worked both ends of Saturday's doubleheader between Miami and Atlanta, and then yesterday she worked home plate.
Mm-hmm.
And she was called up as a replacement umpire for a vacationing umpire. She works in AAA baseball on a permanent basis right now, but it was the first time in a regular season game. We've had women umpires in spring training games, but never in a regular season game.
Good for her.
And I think it's a very positive thing where, again, everybody deserves an opportunity. If they have the skill, they have the work ethic and everything else to do it. But along the same lines, because there's still such a virulent strain of sexism in our society.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it goes right to the top in the White House. Because last night, I was actually getting ready for bed. You wake up bright and early, get over here, do another WXCO morning report here during Mornings with Pat Kreitlow.
Week. Yep. That's right.
But I was checking out Facebook. And I saw a person that's on my feed who happens to be a high school student athlete share a picture that was put out on social media this weekend, or late last week, I think it was actually, from Donald Trump Jr., the son of the President of the United States.
Yeah.
It goes back a little bit to about last week during a WNBA game. Some idiots tossed out a sex toy. It's hard to go into specifics
we don't need to
here.
go into detail.
But the point being is, it was an idiot threw a sex toy onto the court to sort of, I think, show up the women that were on the court, to somehow make a terrible statement. And instead of, like many people did, saying that there's no place for that kind of sexism, that, that women deserve the same opportunities as men do. What did Donald Trump Jr. do? Because last week there was a a moment where Donald Trump, the president of the United States, was on the roof of the White House for some reason. I have no idea really what he was doing up there. I mean, you would have thought he'd been in his office working, but he wasn't doing that. Well, Donald Trump Jr., to be funny, I think, put out this picture where it had Donald Trump on the roof of the White House, and then there was a basketball court with women basketball players below the White House.
Okay.
And it had a picture of Donald Trump throwing a sex toy onto that women's basketball court. And this young person shared it, and it disturbed me. Because...
no sense of class.
Well, is it saying that women don't deserve the same opportunities as men do when it comes to sports? Does it say that treating women like Donald Trump has done his entire life like sex objects is the right way to go about this? And also, it got me thinking of something my mother told me a number of years ago.
What did she say?
Well, when she went to school, she went to Wittenberg High School in the late 1960s. Back then, girls, did not have the same opportunities to play sports at the high school level. And one time I was saying, well, I have a game tonight. I'm doing a girls' basketball game. And she said, boy, I wish I would have had the opportunities to play high school sports. Because she went on and played sports for many years. She was a softball player for many, many years. She was twice the women's champion at the Wittenberg Golf Course in their tournament that they hold every year for men and women. She was the women's champion twice during the 1970s. And she said it would have been just wonderful to have been able to play softball in high school or basketball in high school, golf in high school. And nowadays, girls have those opportunities. And then to see a boy who's going to high school share something that is as disgusting as that, it makes me think, does he think that the women don't have the same opportunities within the school to play sports, or that somehow this is funny in some way?
Seriously, I don't think it's
funny
at all.
And also, it shows again, we expect our leaders to give I think a good moral foundation. Not to be perfect, but
to have higher standards.
To have, to be somebody that does the things that hopefully young people can look at and be able to get a good opportunity to, see somebody that's a positive. Unfortunately, we don't see that right now. And it was just something that caught my mind last night I wanted to talk about. Hey, we got more Pat Kreitlow coming up after an information update here on WXCO.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
And welcome back. It is the WXCO Morning Report, part of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Still overcast here in downtown Wausau. Overcast conditions as we get our new work week underway. Temperature has been hanging around in the upper 60s throughout the morning, but now into the lower 70s. We are now at 71 degrees here at our studios in downtown Wausau. With Ian Welsh, I am Chad Holmes. Real quickly, the playoffs got underway for the Wausau Woodchucks yesterday. The Woodchucks were able to earn a playoff berth on the final day of the regular season on Saturday. Then started a best-of-3 series yesterday in Green Bay against the Rockers. Green Bay jumped out to a 5-0 lead. The Woodchucks got it back to within one at 5-4, but then Green Bay pulled away to win 8-4. So Green Bay takes a 1-0 lead in the best-of-3 series. That game yesterday was played in Green Bay. The good news for the Woodchucks, the second game tonight at 6:05, and if necessary, the third game tomorrow would be both at Athletic Park in Wausau. Why is that such good news? Well, the Woodchucks, it's been a long time since they lost a game at home. The Woodchucks have won 20 straight games at Athletic Park. So odds
That's
are,
impressive.
odds are when you go to see the Woodchucks at home, you're going to see a W. But they got to make sure to make it 21 and 22 wins in a row in order to keep their season alive. So win or go home for all those players tonight at 6:05 at Athletic Park. So Woodchucks and the Green Bay Rockers. Talking about a team that is just red hot, the Milwaukee Brewers.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, again, I've been following the Milwaukee Brewers for nearly 50 years, and there's never been a year like this. This is so unexpected. They were not expected to be this good. The best team in baseball right now. They are now 29 games over 500. They're 73 and 44. They are stretching it out over the Cubs. They are now 6 games ahead of Chicago in the NL Central. They have won 9 games in a row. And yesterday, the Mets jumped out to a 5-0 lead. So it looked like, hey, the Brewers are going to, 8-game win streak. They're still doing great. But then, nope, they came rallying back and won 7-6. I mean, just amazing. I don't.
It's history in the making.
It is. It's just amazing how hot they are. You don't. The old adage, you don't want to peak too early.
Nope.
But
don't want to do that.
They're peaking right now. I mean, they had a double-digit win streak just recently. Now they have 9 wins in a row, and they are just incredibly hot. I mean, everything is going. Even when they're falling behind 5-0, they are continuing to just be so very impressive. Great job by the Milwaukee Brewers.
Keep it up, Brewers.
Yeah, they will try to keep it going tonight. Freddie Peralta on the hill against Pittsburgh. Peralta is having a great year. He's 13-5 with an ERA of just over 3. So Brewers will try to make it 10 in a row tonight against the Pittsburgh Pirates. For the last number of years, I had not watched much preseason football. I just had no. But Saturday I was home and I said,
my parents are the same way.
Gonna watch some of the Packer preseason game for once. I should have kept it off because they did not play well against the New York Jets.
We watched the first half and then we turned down to the Brewers game.
That was a smart way to go. But we
saw the final score of the Packers game. They lost by quite a lot of points.
Oh, it was
30-10 against the New York Jets.
And the thing about it was just such an ugly game. I mean, they just made so many silly mistakes.
Yeah.
30-10, and again, it doesn't
matter. My mom was
matter.
saying that the Packers players who were playing, they're not going to be on the team very long.
Yeah.
They'll probably go back to the transfer portal, I'm guessing.
I think you're right because, and again, nobody remembers what happened in the preseason. Once we get to the regular season, it is
There's
truly
3 games in the preseason.
Exactly. So Packers not so great. I guess the only good thing for the folks is they had a chance to be at Lambeau Field and experience that. But
there's quite a few people at Lambeau Field.
Oh, they pack them in no matter whether it's the regular season game or a preseason
game. Stadium. It looked like a lot of the seats were pretty filled.
Yeah, no, I think it was absolutely. Everybody loves going there and just experiencing the greatest stadium in the NFL. So Packers will be on the road this Saturday, taking on the Indianapolis Colts. So it'll be an afternoon game on Saturday. So Packers back in action. Week 2 of the 3-week preseason. All right, let's talk the number for the day.
Yeah.
What were you last week? 4 or 5, was that right?
I was 4 out of 5.
That was fantastic.
It was definitely a comeback from 2 weeks ago when I got in a perfect week with 0 out of 5.
Well, let's get off to a good start this week.
That's right.
Of course, this weekend, boy, there was a lot of rain, and especially in the Milwaukee area. Flooding, terrible flooding down in southeast Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Saw some numbers of 7, even more than 7 inches of rain this weekend. Our number for the day today is, what is the most amount of rain in a 24-hour period in Wisconsin history? Okay. So what is the most rain? And I will tell you, it happened in Mellon, Wisconsin. Back in June of 1946. The most rainfall in 24 hours. And so you would think 7 to 8 inches would be a record. No, it was not a record this week, even with all the flooding down in southeast Wisconsin.
What are the choices?
Your choices are 9.72 inches, 10.72 inches,
wow,
11.72 inches.
9.72, 10.72, or 11.72.
Yep. The most rain in a 24-hour period in Wisconsin history.
You know what? I'm going to say, just go with my gut here, but I'm going to say 10.72 inches. Final answer.
You fall into your little trap of going with the middle number so often.
Yeah, I know.
11.72 inches.
Ooh.
The biggest number.
That is a lot of rain.
That is a lot of rain.
That's
so hopefully
huge.
Hopefully the folks down in southeast Wisconsin will be out of trouble sooner rather than later. Hey, we'll catch you again tomorrow.
Yep. Happy Monday, everybody. Have a great day.
See you tomorrow on WXCO.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.